Welcome everybody to Two Average Jays, episode siete. Is that right?
That's
Seven.
it. That's it.
Wow, I can't believe it's been 7 episodes. Lucky number 7. And today we have a really good show for you today. We're going to be talking about mentorship. We're going to be talking about sponsorship, what the differences are, and how you look for a mentor, and how do you look for a sponsor, and what is a sponsor? And so there's a lot of questions that we could probably go for several hours on this, but we're going to try to condense it into 30 minutes, so that you listeners with ADHD can pay attention. That's us. Yeah, that's basically us. We'll kind of start it out and kick it off, and I'll ask you, Justin. What does a sponsor look like for you? How did you go about selecting your sponsor? Because I'll tell you, I saw a stat that says 76% of people want a mentor, but only 37% actually have one. That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you think about that, and whether it's fear, whatever it is, or don't even know where to start. So I guess that's my question to you is how did you choose your mentor? How did it start? What did that selection process look like for you?
Yeah, great question, and I love the topic, and I'm actually not too surprised by that stat. Like when you think about who doesn't want a mentor, who doesn't want somebody to guide them, but how do you approach that, or how do you even select the right person to do that? And so for me, I'm gonna jump on the therapist couch real quick and tell you kind of where my desire to have a mentor comes from. I've never once met my dad, and obviously my mom was a role model for me, and I always got to learn from her, but I was always kind of seeking that other voice. I was seeking that other person to kind of help me along with things. And so people that I've worked with, I've always just kind of observed and really tried to figure out, like, okay, does this person do the things and act the way that I want to model myself after? And over time, you kind of find that. So my very first mentor was the first mentor that first person that brought me into the last company that I was with. And number one, I saw somebody that I never wanted to let down, like, because they instilled that belief in me. So I never wanted to let them down. And I was like, okay, I really appreciate this person. And then, I also knew that I would get honest and candid feedback from them. It wasn't somebody that told me what I wanted to hear. It wasn't somebody that, was trying to, artificially build me up, but it was somebody that truly would offer another perspective. And sometimes those people are hard to find, because most times, especially today, people just want to nod their head when you're talking to them and go along with whatever you're saying. And in reality, when I look at a mentor, you need somebody that's going to tell you no, or tell you you're wrong and explain why. And obviously, we could go deep with that on a social level, but I think just in the professional environment, you need that. And so I was very fortunate because I found that person early on in my career. And then I was also very fortunate that that person left the company that I was with. Because what I would say is, it's great to have a mentor in the organization that you're in because they know what you go through, but it also holds you back to a certain degree because they have a bias. Like they're in it with you. They're not looking at it from afar. And so you really need that person that's not going to understand 100% the day to day, because you're looking for that other perspective. And so that's how I found them. And then, it's kind of up to me to make sure that I kept that going and I kept that relationship alive. And, there are little times, like the way I look at it is my mentor is the person that when I run into something that I haven't seen before, or I'm a little unsure of myself, I'm going to go pick up the phone. Or, hey, when I left, the company the first time I did, that's the person I picked up the phone and talked to first, because I knew I would get that advice. I just think it's really important to make sure that you grab somebody that's honest with you and that's outside of your same environment. and that you want to model yourself after, or that you really appreciate the way that they carry themselves, and you aspire to be.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple things from what you said. I think for me, it was a lot about somebody I admire, somebody that is not like you, totally. May think differently than you do. I think that's important too because we tend to try to gravitate towards people that are a lot like us.
Like.
Exactly. Like everybody likes me some me. And so you try to find someone who is objective. I think it's important to find someone even outside your company to find that mentorship. One thing I'll say though is like it's difficult for people, right? Like to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, can you be my mentor?" Like that's not really how it works, right? It's first finding that right person, but know that you know if you don't know that person that great, it's asking for a little bit of their time to talk to them. And I think it's important to start out just to get to know the person, get to know them a little bit and also see how you can help them in any way. Nothing is more draining for someone to be asked to be a mentor and they're just trying to suck the life out of them, right? And I think that's one of the fears that a lot of people have is they don't want to ask because they don't want to be a burden to somebody. But if you approach it in a way where it's a two-way street and you're trying to help them, I think that's good. I think it's also important to note that typically that person that you're admiring probably has their own mentor, so they get it, right? They
Mhm.
understand that people need that space to grow, and they probably would feel honored that you are asking them. Um, the other thing I would say is, express your gratitude towards them. I
Mhm.
think that's easy to just overlook and say, well, yeah, that's obvious, but so many people don't do it, right? Being grateful for someone giving up their time to mentor you and to help you and grow in your career and leadership is a big deal because time is precious and so having that time is important. But like I said, you got to get to know them. And some of that conversation, whether it's 20, 30 minutes long, a good 15 to 20 minutes of that should be directed more around just getting to know them and having conversation about the day. Like when we do this podcast, we spend probably 15 minutes just shooting the breeze and talking about our day and time and stuff like that. And I think that's important to do to build relationship and to build trust between you and your mentor.
Yeah, 100%. I love that part around gratitude as well, because, as you were talking, I was thinking, man, if somebody approached me, and when people approached me and asked me to be their mentor, it's always an honor. Like it's always flattering. And I think everyone has that desire to do it, but some people's bandwidth just doesn't allow it. And, I think the further up the organization that you're in, that you go to try to find that mentor, the more you're going to find that. And the more you're going to find people that are going to want quick conversations with you. And so I think that gratitude piece is really big, to make sure that, they understand how appreciative you are, but it's a two-way relationship. Like, you're giving them something as well, because that goes a long way with people. Let me flip the question back to you around sponsorship, because I don't think you go seek out sponsorship. We've both worked with people that have done that, self-advocating and things. But how do you earn a sponsor, and how do you know when you have a sponsor?
Yeah. So I think first, like when you when I first think about it, the difference between sponsorship and mentorship is, mentorship is someone who's helping you to grow. And then that sponsor is someone who advocates for you because they know your capability and believe in you and trust in you. And I think that's, an important difference. But I think that getting a sponsor it's got to be organic. Like you cannot force that. And I think we've seen that where people try to, hey, can you recommend me? I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't even know you. Like, what are you talking about? Or how am I going to, I wrote you up 3 weeks ago. How am I going to sponsor you? What do you mean? And so, I think the conversation around sponsorship, and I think back at a sponsor that I had, which typically a good sponsor to have is your boss, is the person that you work for. And I think it needs to happen organically through developmental conversations. So if you have syncs set up with your boss on a regular basis, or performance development conversations with your boss, I think it's important to ask the question like, hey, if you feel like you have earned the right for the next level or for a different position, straight up ask your boss for that feedback and say, listen, you know, I know that in career progression conversations that you have with your boss and peers, you know, I want to be considered someone that is looked at for next. Do you feel that I am there? And if not, what am I missing to get there so that I can continue to grow and develop and be someone that is advocated for future positions? And I think that's important to note, um, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you're just assuming that your boss is advocating for you because you feel that you're ready, that's not going to work. Like you need to really ask the questions and ask for that transparency. And it may be difficult for you to ask that question, but that's okay. Like if you want to advance your career, you have to ask the question, and you got to get that honest feedback. And if you're not getting that honest feedback from your boss, that's where I think, you start looking at peers. You start looking at people around you that are maybe in the same roles, um, to see where it is that you're missing, that you can align yourself and focus on the right work to get yourself where you want to be.
Yeah, that's great, and I should have done that. I'm glad you made the distinction between a mentor and a sponsor. So that sponsor truly is that person when you're not in the room that's advocating for you. And yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think you do earn a sponsor, and you can't go ask for it. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned that around the sync conversations. As you were talking, I was remembering some of the sync conversations I had with my team, and there was always a clear distinction between the confident, driven ones, and then the ones that were just a little more passive. And you'd have those conversations with people that sounded just like what you just said,
Mhm.
like, "Hey, where am I? Where do I stand? What do I need to do?" And it wasn't that overly eager person that was just always gunning for a promotion. It was a person that really cared and wanted to move up. And I read an article on Inc.com, and it talked about how to better the relationship with your leader. And there was a very powerful question that I took away and just started using after that. Whenever I would have a sync with my leader, what can I do to make your life easier? And how many times have you been asked that as a leader? Like never. It's always just about, okay, I'm supposed to give you a download, so I will. You're just supposed to take it and walk off. Instead of having somebody that's like, hey, I see that you're working hard. What can I do to help make that, to relieve some of that for you? And some of my leaders were super open and they'd say, "Yeah, this is it. This is what I need from you." Others would, just reinforce some of the things that I was already doing. But the fact that you take that step and you kind of take that leap of faith and put it in their court and say, "Hey, I'm here for you. Like, what can I do to make your life easier?" It puts them in that position to, think critically around, what they do truly need from you. And sometimes the answer may not be what you want because they're going to tell you something that you got to improve. But ultimately, that feedback is a gift, and that helps you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish as well.
Yeah, you definitely got to be ready for that feedback, right? Like when you ask for it, I can't tell you how many conversations I've sat down with people and asked them how they like to be coached, and they always say, "Oh, just shoot me straight. Just give it to me straight."
Everybody wants it straight till they get it.
Everybody wants it straight because and what they're really telling you is that they want to know where they stand. That's what they're really saying. But when you do, and I learned this the hard way, I've done feedback like that. Okay, you want it straight? Here you go.
Yep.
And I look across, after I say it, and in their face, I can tell they did not
You
take
just
that
took all the
well
air
at
out
all.
of
Yeah,
them.
totally. But I think the other thing is when you talk about people asking for that feedback, to me, and you tell me if this is accurate for you as well. But if someone is sitting in front of me and they're they work for me or work under me, and they are passive about asking me for feedback, or they take a passive approach, that almost tells me that they're not ready. Because and those are signs that people look for. Because if you're intimidated by your boss, not in a scared way, but in just oh my gosh, this is my boss. How are you going to go be that person's peer one day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't, if you want to be in your boss's role and you're passive about your approach with him and or her, and you can't have that honest conversation and being transparent, then do you belong in the same room? Because that's what you're telling them, is that you don't.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to note that as well.
Well, I think there's a flip side to that story too, because we've both worked for people that are just intimidating.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you're getting that from your entire team, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because that
Yeah.
means that one, you're probably not listening, and then two, you're probably dictating things and they're afraid of you. So there's trust that definitely is missing there. But I'd agree 100%. Like, how are you expecting to go be a peer when you're not confident enough with the person that you should be, entrusting your development to? It definitely gets in the way for sure.
Yep. And I think it's important to ask for that time. If you're not getting it from your boss, ask for it. Don't go complain. I've seen so many people that maybe their boss has not given them that time, and instead of asking their boss for the time, they go complain to a peer that,
Yep.
man, I haven't talked to my boss. I haven't talked to his and set up any kind of sync in months.
Yeah.
Like,
What's this person doing?
what? Like, exactly. Like, so whose fault? Like, go ask for it. If you want it, the last thing you should be doing is going complaining about it. Go ask for it and ask for that time. It's your right to do that, and your boss should be giving you that time to do that. And if there are a people leader that cares about people, they'll find a way to make that time for you as well.
Yeah, because I guarantee you that, one, we don't always understand the workload of the people that we work for. But
Yeah.
two, I guarantee you they have the intent to be there for you. They just don't realize that they're not being there for you. So it's not a matter of, watch this. I'm just going to let
Yeah.
this person walk off the edge of a cliff and never sit down with them and talk to them about anything. It's more, I've got a million and one things. I thought I just had a conversation with them, but you didn't get out of it what you wanted. So they're an absent leader to you, and all you're really doing is just causing dissent amongst the team, because you're just spreading emotional poison at that point. And maybe that person that you shared that with had a great impression of your leader, but now that impression is somewhat tainted, and they're going to look for things that aren't right, and it turns into poison after that.
Yeah. And on the opposite side of the coin, uh, this does not mean go in super cocky, because we've seen that too, right? Like, I've known leaders that they love to talk about themselves and how great they are, and most of the time, if leaders that do that they're not very self-aware at all.
Yeah.
And if you're going in hot like that to your boss, you're also telling them that you're not ready,
Yeah.
because you're not self-aware of where you are and what you should be working on. I remember one of the things, one of the very first questions my mentor asked me was, um, "What are your biggest opportunities?" And I remember having to really think about it. And he told me, he goes, "If you can't name those things quickly off the top of your head, that's telling me you haven't thought about it enough, and that you're not truly working on the things that you need to be working on."
Truth
And
bombs.
when he said that to me, my mind exploded. literally.
Yeah, I can picture the emoji right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny.
But
I'm thinking about that sponsorship too, and it's funny. Like just to share a little bit of a story. Like Javi and I both experienced this, and I both think that we had the same sponsor at one point. But you don't often recognize right away that you have a sponsor. Sometimes they are there for you, and it's funny when you and I were working together in Orlando. I still remember we would be in the back of the same store. We'd be on conference calls in separate rooms. And at the end of the hour and 10-minute conference call, there was like this throw up of information. All this stuff that we need you guys to focus on for the week and what you needed to do. And we both were scratching our heads like, what the heck? What were we spending the previous hour talking about when it was all of these things as opposed to recounting? And we would both like, kind of kind of confidants to each other, like, man, this is crazy. I don't understand. And what was really happening then, fast forward a couple weeks later, a couple months later, the project that we worked on together was then scaled to the rest of Florida. And then we were giving these individual responsibilities of things to do, for the whole state of Florida. And, fast forward a year past working with that person, you really realize what they were doing. Like they were pushing and developing you. And where you thought, man, this is tough working for this person sometimes. In actuality, you had the growth and you were getting the sponsorship. You just didn't realize it. And shame on me for never having that conversation because I did not have the confidence at that point to do it. But your sponsors are there for you even when you don't see it.
yeah, and I think at that time we were kind of short-sighted of the work, right? Because we just looked at it and we thought to ourselves, holy crap, like we got a day job, people. Like you're giving us all this extra
Yeah, that's
work.
it. You're getting in my
And
way.
yeah, but now looking back at it years later, I look back at it and think, holy crap, like I really grew as a leader because of that. And I don't think I would have been ready for a director role back then if it wasn't for that time of those stretch assignments that we had that really helped us to grow.
I know for a fact. Like I remember one specific project that the leader put me on, and it was a churn effort to try to help stores reduce churn. And I had to go around and speak to different districts around the state. And as uncomfortable as I was, fast forward when I got into my next role, I was then in front of 1,000 people, and I had to be comfortable, and that's what prepared me to do it in the first place.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally
All right.
agree.
So I'm gonna switch it up because we're gonna do something that you don't even know about right now.
Oh boy, here we go.
We're gonna do pigskin picks with Javi. I'm gonna give you the game and don't overthink it. Just give me the win. I'm gonna give you the spread too, so you can tell me if you think they cover. All right.
Okay. All right.
So Sunday morning from London, you've got the Ravens against the Titans. Ravens are favored by 4.5.
I'll take the Ravens
To cover?
and to cover. Yes, I believe they'll win by 6.
The Titans are one of those teams I can't figure honestly either one of these two teams out. I don't know who's going to show up every week. It's weird.
Yeah, I think that the Ravens have had a couple of bad offensive performances, and I think they're going to show up big this coming week.
Okay. All right. There we go. We got the Ravens by 4.5. 49ers at Browns. 49ers favored by 10. Coming off a huge stomping.
Yeah. You know what? I'll take the Browns with the points, but I still think the 49ers win.
Yeah. So you think Browns are going to do enough to keep it close?
I think so. I think they can. The Browns defense is pretty good.
I also think that Watson is out.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. If Watson is out, I will take the 49ers. Yeah.
Sorry, Dan, with him.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Colts at Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 4.
I'll take the Colts.
I think there's an interesting stat. I don't think the Colts have won in Jacksonville in their last, I might be off, 14 games.
First time for everything.
You're taking the Colts.
I'm taking the Colts. You got Taylor back at running back.
Gardner Minshew leading the
Gardner
way
Minshew,
against his
who
old
can
team.
He can actually throw the ball, and so I think it's a big day for the Colts.
It is a revenge game for
It is.
Gardner. So all right, I can see that. All right. We've got the Commanders at the Falcons. Falcons favored by 2.5.
Oh, I'll take the Falcons all day on that one.
Yeah,
I think the Falcons win by 4 or 5, maybe even 6.
what happened to Washington's defense? How did they go and get
Ah,
trounced against a poor Bears team?
well, they got killed by the Bills the week before that, so they're just on a
Oh
downward
yeah.
trend right now.
I just seem to remember that defense was always so tough. I know their front
Yeah,
four is really good.
yeah.
That's tough. And Atlanta runs the ball a lot.
The
That one's a
problem
tough
is
one.
their defense is on the field the majority of the game,
That's
and
true.
that offense can't convert a first down, and those 3 and outs kill any defense, no matter how good they are.
Yeah. Magic Johnson needs to call up the Wolves and see what the price is for Kirk. Throw Kirk
Yeah,
in there for him. He can bring him right back, bring him home.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Panthers at the Dolphins. The Fish are favored by 14.
Let's go, Fins!
Yeah.
Fins all day, all
Half
day.
of the Panthers team is out.
Well, let me
Uh,
tell you this: on defense, they only had 2 good defensive players left on that defensive front, and they're both gone. They're both gone for
uh,
this game. So
oh my
they're
goodness.
literally Miami's offense is going to be playing against backups and practice squad guys.
Ay,
That's
ay,
Miami
ay.
all day. Miami by 21 at minimum. At
so
minimum.
so here's one of my interesting philosophies. If a big percentage of the bets are going on one team, I don't know why, but sometimes that other team just pulls it out. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the bets. It's just because there's such a severe underdog that the favored team plays down to them. I don't think that's going to happen with the Dolphins, but 92% of the money's on the Dolphins with the points. So they all
Okay.
believe the same thing with you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I just can't see it.
Here's where it gets interesting. Saints at Texans, they literally just drive
Ooh.
themselves over to Houston. Saints are favored by 1.5
Wow. It's in Houston?
in Houston.
Hmm. I'm gonna say, and you said the Saints are favored by 1.5.
Saints are favored by 1.5.
Wow, that's a really tight game. I'm gonna say the Texans win because of the home field advantage.
I'm saying the same thing. And what's really gonna throw you off, the Texans are the number 3 passing offense in the NFL.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Their QB is playing really well.
Yeah, Stroud is doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I take the Texans too. All right, Seahawks at Bengals. Bengals favored by 3. Joe Burrow is healthy. What do you got?
Sure. I don't know. Is he really healthy?
He's healthy.
They're saying he is, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could be lingering.
Offensively, they have not done well. What's the record for the Seahawks?
Seahawks are 3-1. They just came off a bye.
Off a bye. I'm gonna say Cincinnati. It's tough to come off a bye to play away. Cincinnati's a tough environment. I think the Bengals win it in a tight game that is a defensive battle.
Ooh, defensive battle.
Yeah.
I think I'd go the other way on this one because Pete Carroll's coming
Mhm.
off of a bye, and the Seahawks went to Detroit and took down Detroit. And I know that sounds weird, but Detroit's pretty darn good.
They are good. They
This is
are
going to be
good.
a tough one for the Bengals.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right,
I,
here we
I I
go.
just gotta think the Bengals have to eventually turn it around. Like I can't see
Yeah,
them continuing to play poorly.
yeah. And so for the runner-up stink bowl of the week, you have the Patriots at the Raiders. Belichick
Oh my
versus
gosh.
McDaniels.
Oh my gosh. Do we even have to watch this game? What's
I
the
know.
spread?
Raiders by 3.
It's in Vegas.
It's in Vegas.
I'm gonna say Belichick figures out a way to win because he's the master and McDaniel's the student. And
Yeah,
I don't think the master is going to lose to the student.
I'd agree with one caveat. Robert Kraft is smart. So is Bill Belichick. Maybe the tank is on. I don't know. They all know they don't want Matt back there anymore, but are they intentionally? I don't remember the last time a Belichick team got blown out 34-0 on their home field.
Yeah. Is it really his fault though? They literally don't have a running game. They don't have receivers. Their receivers are
He's the
garbage.
GM, isn't he? Isn't he the GM? It's totally his fault.
I know all that from that, but I mean, I'm saying Matt Jones. It's not Matt Jones's fault.
Oh yeah, it's not Mike Jones' fault. Yeah,
No.
I mean he's no
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
I personally take some responsibility for that because the Vikings made Mac Jones look like Peyton Manning when they played him last year. So they're like,
That's
it's
true.
good. Same thing with Daniel Jones. He looked like the Messiah, and now you get to see what you really got.
But you take Mac Jones and put him on the 49ers. Is he just as good or better than Brock Purdy? I think maybe.
I think so too. Yeah,
I think
but
so.
Shanahan has a way just to get the best out of people,
He does. Yeah.
especially that position. Okay.
Yeah.
Cardinals at Rams. Rams are favored by 7.
I'll take the Rams. They got Cooper Kupp back.
He's back.
I think it's his second week back. I think, and I
Yep.
think he'll step it up, and they'll win by probably 10 at least.
Okay, and they got Pikachu back there too. So you got Cup and Pikachu. Like they got some good receivers over there, and Stafford's playing pretty good. I could back that as well. Cardinals, another team suspect on the tank. But they have no resources. They've already given up. They've already imploded. So
Yep.
All right, Eagles at the Jets. These two teams have only played like 16 times in history.
Wow, I did not know that.
It's crazy. I heard them talk about that earlier on Good Morning Football. I'm like, that's nuts. Okay, Eagles are favored by 6.5. Robert Saleh is quoted as saying, "If Hurts runs, we need to kiss him 11 times."
Wow. See, this one's a hard one for me because I hate the Jets with a passion. And the Eagles are undefeated, and only my Dolphins, 72 Dolphins, are undefeated. So you don't want to see a team continue to win and push
It's already
the agenda
that time of
on
year
that
where you have
undefeated.
to make
Yes,
sure nobody's
exactly.
undefeated. Okay.
Exactly. So that was a tough one for me. It's in New York,
Yep.
but I just
It's
don't
just right
have the
across the river,
confidence
though.
I don't have the confidence in the Jets offense. I really don't.
Not Zach
Like
Wilson. No.
no, he's just super inconsistent. And I think he had one good week against Kansas City, or decent, but they still lost. So I just can't see it. I'd say the Eagles by probably 10 or more.
Yeah, I think so too. As much as I'd like to see the Jets take down the Eagles, I don't know. They're going to be playing inspired football. Obviously, they're listening to their coach, but
They do have good defense.
Yeah,
they do have good defense.
Their front four is really good too. So it's going to be a good matchup to see the offensive line go against that defensive line. But Zach Wilson, another team should be on the phone with the Wilfs right now and trying to pull Cousin over to New York. New York.
No, don't do that. Then then that affects my Dolphins. So no.
Yeah.
Continue to play poorly and make bad decisions, the Jets, because that's what you do.
Yeah. Well, hey, so and just sneakily looking at the NFL schedule, you would have never picked this to be probably the game of the week. The Lions are in Tampa. 4-1 Lions, 3-1 Bucks, coming off a bye. The Lions are favored by 3.
Wow. And you know what? I'll take the Lions.
You're taking the Lions.
I take the Lions. I think they're a really good team. They're underrated. I think the Bucks are overrated, honestly.
They may have gotten lucky with a couple of games, and they definitely got stomped by Philadelphia. And I do look at the Lions as being not quite there, but pretty close to an Eagles team. Like I think the Lions could beat the Eagles.
And we live in the Tampa Bay area.
I know.
So
but I've been surprised almost with every game that the Bucks have played. Especially the way Baker's playing. But that's Yeah, who would have thought that this is going to be two teams with the best record playing each other this week?
Yeah, they
Well,
have good defense.
they do for sure. Two teams that definitely don't have the best record, and this is the stink bowl of the week. The
Oh
one
boy.
and four Vikings head to the 1-4 Bears. The Vikings are favored by 3, -1 Justin Jefferson.
I still take the Vikings. The Bears are probably one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Justin Fields, his comments a couple weeks ago about blaming the offensive
Coordinator.
coordinator. I mean, it's a disaster, and I imagine internally there's a lot of issues there. So I am taking the Vikings. Sorry, Justin, you're not going to be the first pick overall.
No, we need it. All we have to do is lose to the Bears. Then they have the better record. I don't. I'm torn. Like we went up there and beat them last year. We had Justin Jefferson, but in a meaningless game. But I don't know the way that the Bears have come out swinging the last 2 weeks and putting up a ton of points. I think the Bears get out with a healthy lead, and the Vikings fall short at the end, coming
I
back.
think that receiver you guys got played for the University of Miami.
KJ Osborne. He'll
AJ
finally
Osborne's gonna
catch
have
a
a big
ball.
game.
You think he's going to finally catch the ball?
Oh, I think he's gonna have a big game. I think he's gonna have a big game.
He's losing his support amongst Vikings fans. He's on his fourth drop of the season already, hitting him in the numbers.
And that's not like him. That's not like him.
It isn't, and he's only in second place on the team to the second highest paid tight end in the league, who dropped 3 passes in one game against Kansas City. The fix could be on there too. They may have their sights set on Caleb Williams for sure. All right. Brian Daboll goes back to Buffalo. The Giants at the Bills Sunday night. The Bills are favored by 15 points.
What a crappy game that is. I mean, we saw what the Dolphins did to the Giants, and the Bills lost last week. And I do not see them losing 2 in a row. I think the Bills rout them.
They kind of looked helpless too. Like Jacksonville imposed their will.
Let me tell you, the Giants' offensive line is the worst offensive line I've seen in a long time. Like, reminds me of the offensive line that Derek Carr, when he was first round pick for the Texans, was behind. Literally, I remember there being an emoji or a GIF that had David Carr with no offensive line in front of him.
I think Sam Howell would disagree. The most hit and sacked quarterback in the NFL. The Commanders' line may be just as bad, but I don't disagree. I think the Bills cover by 15. I don't think Daboll knows enough.
That's a lot, too. 15 is a lot.
It is, but they're going to your point, they're going to be motivated. You saw a motivated Bills team against the Dolphins for sure. And then lastly, Monday night's game, and probably the game that which coach needs it more. The Cowboys go to the Chargers, and maybe it's not the coach, maybe it's not McCarthy, but Dak definitely needs to prove something. And I don't know how the coach of the Chargers still has a job. So many questionable calls, so much talent, and nothing comes from it. But hey, Cowboys are favored by only 2.5 going to LA.
Wow. That's a tight game. And it's tough to go across the country like that. I mean, they're coming from Dallas. What's the Chargers record?
Chargers are 2-2. They beat a lowly Vikings team, and the win that they had.
Yeah, and I think what's the Cowboys record?
Cowboys are 3-2.
Okay.
Chargers are coming off a bye, if that helps you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys on that one. I just think it's too much at stake for the Cowboys, and I think that it's not San Diego. They're not San Diego anymore. The Chargers coach is going to end up getting fired probably mid-season.
Yeah, he has to. There's no way he sticks around. I mean, I still look at it regardless of what the 49ers just did to him. The Cowboys have a great defense.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for Herbert to move the ball. I'd
I'll, t-
agree.
I'll tell you though, they lost their corner,
Yeah, they lost Diggs.
Diggs, and it has made a difference
Oh
because
yeah,
they are not
Gil-
as good as they were.
Gilmore's on his
Which, by
own.
the way, Miami is going to be getting back Jalen Ramsey in November, and he hasn't played all year. So our defense is pretty sucky right now, but hopefully when he comes back, that'll make a big difference. We'll see.
Yeah, should be a big boost. All right, we
Yeah.
all saw it 2 weeks ago. I think LeBron James went 12 out of 13 with his picks. Mark it down, and a lot of people are going to be watching this after the weekend. So you're either going to look really, really smart, or it's going to be
Yeah.
tough. But I agreed, I think, on all but maybe one game, right? Like,
I think so.
I think we were
Yeah.
the same on all but one game. So, all right, we'll see
Yep.
how it goes. That is it. Episode 7 of Two Average Jays. Appreciate all of our followers. We're now over 100. Yeah.
Woo!
I know we're not up to some Jake Paul's status, but we're working our way there, chiseling one at a time, and just appreciate the interaction. And I think this is a great topic. You have to have this in any quest to move up any company, a mentor and a sponsor. And I think it was a great conversation. So we'll see you guys next time. Hit like, subscribe, leave us some comments on what you'd like to see in future episodes. Appreciate you. We'll see you guys later.
Take care, everybody.